So I'd like to introduce Paul Cella, the other guy with the accent, Mr. Gigito. And Paul owns a firm, KeyArx, and we've known Paul for a number of years. Paul, in our opinion, has cracked the code in the business market for finding a way in the back door, as opposed to trying to work your way in through a CEO or a partner who, as Paul will talk about, they all have their guy. Mm-hmm. And so Paul, if you'd take a minute, share with us a little bit about KeyArx, and then we're going to get into how the ancillary benefit market has really helped your life insurance business explode.
Good, thanks. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So KeyArx Group, we've been around for about 8 years. I've been in the business 27 years and had a great relationship with Ash. And basically what we've designed, or what we've come up with, is a system to get into business owners. And I'll start with everybody's got their guy. That I guess that's the Jersey term, right? Every advisor, or every professional, I should say, and we're big in the medical space, but whether it's attorneys or white collar workers, we deal with a lot of high income earners, but everybody has their advisor. So everybody will have their insurance person, their Northwestern, their Mass Mutual, their Guardian person, and then they also have their investment person, maybe Schwab or LPL or Merrill person, whatever. So instead of butting heads and trying to be valuable to that person and you're just perceived as the insurance person, we've come up with a system to go after a sleepy benefit, an area where, to me, is just overlooked, and it's the area of group disability. And it's the common thread that holds all the executives of a firm or partners of a firm together. So Tim gave me a great phrase yesterday, and I'm going to use it. It's amazing how you just articulate things in a great way, so I appreciate it. But we give the same attention to the ancillary benefits, which ancillary is the short-term, group long-term disability, group life, AD&D, accidental death and dismemberment, and dental. We give the same attention to that suite of benefits that the health consultant or health professional will give to the health insurance. And the business owner goes over those health benefits every year because it's a real big pain point, second largest income next to salary, or second largest spend next to salaries, but people don't focus on those ancillary benefits. So what we find is, time and time again, when I go into practices, a medical practice or a law firm, the top executives have less of their salary covered for disability than the person answering the phone. So, think about it. Most benefits are sold as disability is sold as an afterthought. Maybe most companies will have 60% of salary covered to $10,000, and that's it. And if you have an executive making $500 or up, let's say they're making $500, well, guess what? $10,000 a month, that's less than 25% of your income covered. And Mr. Executive, Mrs. Executive, if you become disabled, how that's going to devastate your retirement plan, and we have solutions for that and a unique design that I think you should all be aware of. It's devastating to the family. So not only are you getting 25% of your income, when you account for the retirement plan, the 401k, the profit share of the defined benefit that's not being funded, it's a huge disaster. So I just have a couple talking points here, so we can go through and you can interject at any point.
Go ahead.
So we mentioned every person has the guy, but our goal with KeyArx when we're working with an advisor to us could be an RIA, an investment person, work with a lot of people in the room here, top life people, benefit people. That to us is an advisor. But our goal is to save money and deploy those savings to make it better for the top executives. So we have a simple delivery and expectation to the client. We typically will save 20 to 40% on these benefits, and we do it over 90% of the time. So I'm going to stop for a minute here, and I want to ask people in the room a question. the good part is we only get paid, and when people implement our designs, our strategies, and the best part is what do we do with those savings? So I'm going to ask people in the room a question. How many people in the room have filed a life claim? How about more than 5? More than 10? 20? Look, Randy, 30. Okay, so the hands start going down. I've filed over 50 disability claims. So it's not only what we do with the design and how we make it better, which I'll get into in a little bit, but it's where you really want us on your team. You want us on your team come claim time. That's where the rubber meets the road. And people just, they have these benefits, but they don't really realize what it means.
And you go back to the health insurance. One of the things that Paul's made very clear, and he said it here, is that the most businesses that have a significant health insurance plan have people that are doing their homework.
Oh yeah.
Because they'll get shopped every 12 to 24 months. It's more price sensitive. But when you think about the specialty of what you do in the group LTD, in the ancillary benefits, why is it that they're not paying attention to that?
It's disability. If we look in the room, less than 2% of advisors or agents that are life licensed. It's a small percentage that even sells disability, and typically it's a question when the client comes to us and says, do you do that disability stuff? And oh yeah, I do that. So it's not a specialty of the life people, no less a health person who does a wonderful job with the health and the attention to detail. But our whole system is, if we could find the savings and somebody has a $10,000 a month benefit, could we take those savings and deploy it to make it a $15,000 a month benefit or a $20,000 a month benefit? And is it possible to take some of those savings and cover your retirement contribution, your 401k, profit share, your defined benefit contribution in addition, make it much better? So a lot of the health people or the advisors, I don't want to beat up on the health people, we come across wonderful people. We don't do health, we don't
Right.
know it. So it's just lack of attention to the detail.
So by a show of hands, in whatever your specialty is, how many times have you given a customer a great idea that they went and placed it with somebody else? Only 2 people? It's only happened to 2 people in the room.
Right.
Really? Come on. So one of the things that we actually work with Paul on is he'll talk about the fact that you need to have control of the client when you're partnering with Paul. And control of the client means that you're going to get the audience. It doesn't mean they're going to make a buying decision, but you're going to get the audience. And so we've put together a document because his results are so astounding, and thinking about the fact that the LTD premium is going to be, very small compared to the health insurance premium. They're just not thinking about it. But if 90% of the time you're recognizing a savings, Paul wasn't getting paid for all of his business,
right?
Because Paul was the guy that was coming in from Jersey to help you with your benefits, and sometimes they were going back to their health broker, and their health broker fixed that.
Yep.
So
I could do that.
We helped Paul put together an agreement which says we're going to sign this up front that 90% of the time we're recognizing savings, and if you take that recognized savings back to an existing broker of record, that we will recognize 50% of that revenue. And so you're setting that expectation up front, and you're not getting a lot of pushback with that.
Oh yeah, or we could do a joint venture model, or we can get paid, through being your new broker. And like I said, the key is it's not just the savings, it's not just the design, it's the last piece that I said. It's you want us on your team, because if you're an executive, death is horrible for families, but disability, I'm going to tell you, initially, it's worse. Most people don't have the right amount of disability. People have a lot of life insurance because that's all they think about. A disability is devastating. So what I did here, Jason, is I put together some what-if questions. I think, people love questions. And Randy, I learned this from you, to articulate the best you can do. But I put together some questions for that business owner, for that contact. And I just call it the 4 what-ifs. So what if you could save 20% or more on your ancillary benefits? What if you could use those savings to significantly increase the benefits to you and your family and your key executives? We all talk about attract, retain, reward. What if we could take those savings and make it better for the key people? What if we could take you from 30% to maybe 60 or even 70% of income replacement and get rid of that disaster situation covering multiple contingencies, a disability and the disaster of the retirement plan? What if we could find this out in a 5-minute phone call, and that's all it takes? So a 5-minute phone call with the advisor, we get on the phone with an advisor, and in 5 minutes, we could size up that situation and see, Mr. Client, Mrs. Client, would this benefit you and your firm? And then the last thing is, what if you can get the results back in 5 to 7 days? And this is typically companies under 100 employees, 5 to 7 business days. So what if? Why wouldn't you go through that drill?
So take us through some of the examples.
Okay, so I have a couple case studies here, and this is a visual of our system that we utilize. And why do we start with the ancillary benefits? Because of that 90% penetration, that 90% success rate. If you could do something 90% of the time and have a positive outcome, why not start there? Everybody else, to me, is sleeping at the wheel. So we start with that ancillary benefit. I'll go through some quick examples. And then the best part of this system is then it's the pivot. Then we have one more question. When we significantly increase a situation for a client, then I say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, could I show you what I really do well? And after we do what I'm going to show you, they're like, that's what you really do well, and we get a little bit of a pause, and then we pivot to life insurance. We have similar results with looking at your key man, your buy-sell coverages, your individual coverages. And what's neat about this system, it works, it leads to other areas that we work with other professionals at ASH, whether they're health professionals, property and casualty, deferred comp people. We don't get into that space, but that's where we lean on other people, and there's a lot of cross sales that come out of this. So, Jason, to answer your question, or to show some case studies, this is what we deliver often. And I almost stopped saying 20 to 40%, because if we come back with 30%, the client's like, how come I didn't get that 40? So we're saying 20 or more. But here's some examples, and what I like for the advisors in the room, or the assets under management people, look at the partners that we're talking about and the high income earners and the access point. So like I said, everybody has their guy. Here's a group of 16 doctors, 18 staff. Typical benefit design with a medical firm, 60% of salary up to $15,000. And then the second piece, and I'll go quicker with these just so you understand what I'm showing you. Class 2, or not 2 in parentheses, is all the other employees have $10,000 a month. This group was spending $59,000 in premiums, and in a few days we came back with $32,000, or 55 some odd percent. Here's a group of anesthesiologists, 26 anesthesiologists, making north of $700,000. All 26 of them, Jason, have their guy. So the common thread is that group benefit, that group LTD plan, or that group life, or that group dental. That's the common thread. So here's a group that was spending $486,000, and we were able to come back and save them $172,000 in a short period of time. This group was a little more teeth on it. Took about 3 weeks, but coming back with $172,000, and they didn't want the savings. They wanted us to make it better, and then I'll show you how we make it better. So what I'll pause for a minute is when I'm saying 16, 26 access to professionals, we're opening the door to the asset conversations with other people. We're opening the door to other life conversations for these people that otherwise the walls would be shut down. So here's another group. It's another group of 16 doctors, and this is what we do in a nutshell. Here, this group had 60% of disability to $7,500. They were spending $77,000 a year. So we came back, showed them a big pool of savings, but then I said, guys, you really don't need the savings. Let's make it better. And we came back to this group with $7,500 a month. Each one of those doctors, that's potentially $90,000 a year of benefits, right? Times that by how many years to 65. It's a lot of money, but we had enough savings that we were able to deploy that savings back into the plan, and we got them $12,500 a month. We covered their retirement contribution in addition to the disability for another $2,500 a month. So now you're talking about someone that has potentially $7,500 a month of benefit, and we just doubled it to $15K. So $90,000 of potential benefits, upwards of $180,000. And oh, doc, by the way, we're saving your practice $1,000 a month, probably, approximately. So that's what we do. We redeploy, make it better. Show them the savings, column A, column B, make it better. So that's the design work that we do all the time with the groups. And then they typically don't want it. They typically want column B. How can you make it better? And getting back to that 30%, that's our focus. Our conversation is similar to what the executives say, the deferred comp guys say. You know, you're getting lesser of your salary covered on your retirement plan.
So we have a few more examples, but a one that's personal to us. We were having a finance meeting at Ash Brokerage, and we were looking at what our expenses were for the previous year. We felt confident that we were going in the right direction with our health insurance, but we had this question of, you know, why do we pay so much for something as simple as dental coverage? And we didn't have an answer. And so during that meeting, Tim starts sending an email to Paul and says, you know, you have to help us look at this. Because we have a benefits broker. We feel that we do a good job on the health insurance, but something as simple as dental insurance, give a purview into what we were doing and what we're going to be doing.
And this is, well, I have an insurance brokerage firm in Indiana, so we know that now. That's Ash, so I was trying to keep that under the cover for you guys.
Well, here you go.
Anyway, so this is an example of it. You can go after certain pieces, but like Jason said, Ash was spending about $23,000 a month in dental costs. And at the end of this study, we were able to cut that to $19,800 a month. So that's some significant savings for one line. So when I say 20 to 40%, you know, it's again not beating up the health broker, but it's looking at these areas when it comes to short-term, long-term, group life, group AD&D, that's accidental death and dismemberment, and dental. These are some big costs, and the dental and the health typically go together, but they're just an add-on. They're not really looked at often enough. So that's what we did with Ash.
So I know the LTD is a bigger part of your business, but what's happened in that dental space in the last year or so that has you energized about this? Because these are talking points for people.
Yeah, that's great.
Had dinner last night, and you had hooked up with Chris Hand earlier in the meeting because he works with a lot of doctor groups, and so we're trying to create that connectivity, having those conversations. What's happening in that dental space?
Well, in the dental space, we have 4 major carriers that were general agents for the benefits. So one of the major carriers, Sun Life, merged with a company called Assurant in the benefit world, and now they have the 2nd largest dental network in the country. And I go into a lot of space, and this is why we're taking advantage of this with Ash. But with that merger, most places I go into, I'm seeing 40, 50% bigger network than a United or an Aetna. And what does that do? It gives that pool of that dental pool, and I'm not the dental specialist, but it gives that dental pool lower rates, lower per head rates. And with bigger networks, you're driving more people to the in-network, so you'll save on the premium, and then you'll save on utilization too.
So when you're looking at this group, you know, one of the things that you're not is a competitor.
Right.
So when you're partnering with, whether it's an RIA or insurance-based professional, your focus is creating the savings here.
Absolutely.
Now, there could be opportunities for other business, and because you've helped recognize that, they may want to do that. Richard asked the question earlier about splits with Jared. You're both retail and wholesale.
Yep.
You have your own practice, you have your own book of business. But you also do a lot of joint work, which is why we're having this conversation today. What does that look like to people in the audience?
The joint work model, we call it a workload model. So who's doing the work? So if we can work with an advisor and you're doing 100% of the work, we can get paid from the override. And it will help design, talk to you on the phone. But if I'm going to open and design and close and service, and you want to take 100% of the case, well, that's, then we would go to a retail model and we would just share the revenue. So it's up to the advisor how they want. There's a lot of people like Bill in the room who are top notch at what they do. Bill's saying, Paul, I don't need you. I would just want to deal in the wholesale version.
Bill Clark?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just wanted to give you a plug there, Bill. But anyway, there's a lot of sharp people in the benefits world, and they utilize us in the wholesale side of that. And a lot of those people, they come to us for the real design on the LTD part. So that's a workload discussion.
Okay. Yeah, I think you had a few more examples. We'll open up to questions.
This is just we could do this with any type of client. Our best space is that first and foremost, a physician. If you have physician clients, lights out. We do incredible things for them. I help design a group plan that currently insures over 125,000 doctors nationally. And it has some unique components that no other group plan has for a doctor. If it's a law firm, Steve and I, my partner Steve, we're working on a law firm. It's 950 attorneys. So this happens to be a graphics company. And if you see the number of employees, it's 87 employees. And what we looked at was we looked at their long-term, their life, their AD&D, short-term, and the dental. And we came back in a short period of time. They were spending $167,000, and we came back with $33,000 in savings. So for those of you in the room that are much more sophisticated than I would be with the deferred comp or the premium financing or whatever it is, think about this as an entry point. $33,000 in savings. The CFO, he loved this. Bigger network, savings on the table. Now can we show you what we really do well? So those are the examples. It doesn't have to be professional firms, but what I'll end on is you have to have client control. You have to have the client control. And the workload for the advisors that we work with that want to do a workload retail model, the demands are pretty simple. It's having the control, staying in the pocket, and getting some simple data, a census, summary plan description, and a current invoice. And then we work with that advisor. We do most of the heavy lifting with open and close and implementation and such, but it works. So
they do more than that. For example, with us, they went through our employees, who they were using for dentists, and came back and told us how much money we would actually save at the employee level. Mm-hmm. So it's a pretty in-depth, significant process to go through. And we're a licensed insurance agency, but we're not the specialist. Mm-hmm. And so it's these types of opportunities that people can actually take action with, which is why we put that piece of paper in there as you are writing down opportunities and clients. This is a great opportunity to stay connected with Paul as we go forward. Are there questions for Paul?
I just had one more thing that I wanted to mention. Last year we did a large case with Ash, and it started from 2 spine surgeons making very large incomes, $3 million and $5 million, and we started with a small disability policy, making it better. Okay, so we started with a simple item. There wasn't a lot of revenue, monthly revenue to speak of on a small case. But at the end of the day, we went through the process, and when I said, hey, can I show you what I really do well? And they let me look at their life policies. And last year we sold a $500,000 life premium on each guy. So it does that pivot that I mentioned. It happens. It gives us the right to ask. It gives us the pivot right to say, can I show you what I really do well? And if we can have similar results on the life side as the individual side, people get excited to say, and then all of a sudden that I got a guy conversation, you've earned the right to, doesn't matter that you have a guy. So I'm sorry for chiming in with that.
A couple of questions. So first, for health brokers, I know in the health world, the ancillary benefits are becoming a much bigger profit center as their margins are being squeezed on their traditional lines. And then you mentioned you have retail and wholesaler. So are there relationships where you're actually a strategic partner with health brokerage firms, which, ancillary lines are very important to them? So question number 1. And number 2, you talked a lot about pivoting. Are you doing a lot of the sales from via Skype and email and phone call, or are you actually traveling in and helping with the open, close, and helping with the pivots to doing more of what you do. And I guess that would affect the JVA, the joint
Right.
the agreement.
It's only
So-
2, right? Because if you go to
that's
3,
it.
I got to start writing it down, and
That's it.
I'll
We're
feel like
good.
I'm at a press conference.
Go for it.
The question to the working with the health broker, the health brokers are good at what they do, and I don't do health insurance. I stay away, and I would suggest to the advisors, it's kind of like a little 2-part question. I would say stay away from the health people. Don't go after that. Let that sleeping dog lie, because that health broker has a real intimate relationship with the business owner. They meet annually, and they use that coverage at a high level. So go after the ancillary benefits. But when we work with health brokers, I love going into an area and working with a health broker, because I don't do it. I need them, and most of them can deliver with the health broker. For me, I'm just setting them up with the designs and work. Typically they'll do all the implementation, and most of them I don't even have to get into the sales process. So that's more of a wholesale model, and I love it because that's less work for us, and we can move on. To answer the question on the webinars, we do Join Me, go-to meetings, and we do them all the time. We will do a phone call with the client first, with the advisor. We always say, have the advisor has to be on the phone with us, because one is you learn, and then we have one advisor last November started with us. He's in Phoenix, guy's a dynamo, and we already have 12 good-sized medical groups since November that we're working on, and we're starting to close up. So yes, we'll do the the Skype type meetings, and those are very effective. But the advisor in the room here, whether you're in Houston or you're in it doesn't matter, Tennessee, it doesn't matter that you're the boots on the ground. I'm just that technician on the phone. So I could be that Jersey guy helping out somebody in Alabama or whatever. But that advisor, one of the expectations, if we do that, you should be there. You should be in the room. So that's how we deliver it. And then if the cases get really big, then if we have to go out, we go out. And then I just ask people, let's just take some a flight and a hotel off the top and split the balance. It just be fair. So did that answer your questions?
Other questions? Al?
Did I hear you, 2 parts? Did I hear you right that your target is 100 and less, 100 employees and below?
Great question. It depends. So the higher the incomes of the key people, the smaller we could get. So if we go into a big company, we go into a hospital, or you go into a big entity, you have boards, and you're fighting a lot of battles. You're fighting the big, Marshes and Aons and Mercers of the world.
That's where I was going.
Yeah, so, with those situations, we almost have to work with the brokers, or you have to have C-level down. If you don't have the C-suite, don't waste your time. Don't tell me I know an HR
above
person.
100, the health broker really is kind of the ancillary broker too?
Yep.
Is that really the cutoff?
Yeah. I'm sorry, the question?
That my understanding or view is that when you get above 100, or there is some delineation, I don't know what it is, above 100, above 200, then the health broker really is the ancillary broker too, and they're treating that review process very similarly?
Even under 100 they are. Okay. So what I would say to you is this: when I say the high income earners, if you have a partnership with 3 or 5 doctors or 3 or 5 high income earning executives, those become very attractive, because I could do that 30% item I mentioned earlier, and then the pivot, we're pivoting to people making 500. We have clients, million and up, is that we play really well in that space, and those are the people we all want to be in front of. But the small, under 100, you can get, it's based on more income driven for us, what I would suggest.
Just a couple split questions.
Oh. There you are.
So do you have any successful existing relationships with health brokers? Is that a good target if we have a good relationship with one? It seems like you guys strategically would be good.
It's fine. And then,
do you have any though?
Yeah, we have on the East Coast, we work with a firm called Emerson Reed. Nationally, my biggest problem is when I go into an area, health insurance is so specific to the state, and there's so many nuances that you have to have a local person. So the answer is, I've kind of solved that through going to these national firms, but I don't have any allegiance to the national firms. I'd rather work with a guy like you that has a contact, and then we could play nice in the sandbox together.
So when you pivot to life insurance down the road, you made that, so what's the split on that?
Again, it depends on what happens. So if you're utilizing me as the wholesale model and you're doing the work in the delivery system, guys, take it. That's yours. Just I'm just,
On the retail system.
on the retail side, what happens is if I'm rolling up my sleeves and I'm getting in with those people, I'm the one creating those life sales. So I'm doing my side and I'm creating life sales. I work with the guy and then we typically just do a 50-50 split.
So is that the same on all the benefits and everything also? If it's the retail model, it's 50-50?
Typically it's 50-50.
Okay.
And you know, with Ash people, it's I spend a lot more time up front gearing for people to get them into the system and educate them more. We put it this way, 50-50, I have people that tell me I'm crazy for doing it. We do a lot of heavy lifting, but it's that if you have that client control and you can, you know, force the appointments, those things they're invaluable to us. You know, and that you're there at the appointment.
It's a great system. It's a good access point.
Yeah.
Harvey?
Yeah, a lot of these medical practices that are relatively small, you know, 8, 10, 12 physicians, usually have business managers that manage the practice, and that's who handles all of their benefits. And so how do you pivot from them dealing with all of these ancillary benefits to getting to the physician
Good question.
that you want to really get to?
Did anybody notice he looks like Ted Kennedy? Did you know? Good question. So what getting to the doctors, what I say is if it's the doctor that gets excited with our conversation. So a doctor, so let me just give you a quick 20-second thing with a doctor. Are we still okay on?
Go.
On the doctors, you know, hey doc, you have $10,000 a month. They don't want to get more. They don't want to get more coverage. Who usually runs the practice? The fact of the matter is the older guys, right? So they're running the practice. They don't really want disability. 60 plus, they don't want it. The younger guys want more. So typically, what happens is they settle for a $10,000, $7,500 benefit, and it's a cost-related item. So if I can come in, doc, and I can talk to your key guys, and we can save you enough money to get you from 10 to 15. And cover your retirement plan contribution up to $4,000 a month. In addition to that, 15. Now we're up to $19,000 a month. And I found the money to do it. The mature guys aren't paying the money. And if you become disabled, we developed a program that pays their med-mal premium if they become disabled, up to $75,000. And we built in a rider that basically says if one of the doctors goes down, the three of us are partners, I become disabled, that stinks for me. But you know what? It stinks for these two guys because they got to pick up my lost work. We have a key man provision that pays the practice up to $360,000 to bring in another doc for a period of time. Wow. So it's that conversation at it's not the C-level with a medical practice, but the senior partner, we get a 5-10 minute conversation on with that. That guy's saying, I want that. Hey, Jim, hey, Sally, the CFO, give this guy what he needs. And then we go top down. That's where the magic happens. So if you're doing assets for one of the partners of an orthopedic firm or one of the partners you're doing their 401k or the insurance, that's what we talk about with the client control. You need that key person. We typically don't go to the business manager. We typically go to the doctor down to the business manager. And once you have the business manager on board, then a lot of things happen. I mean, we have, you know, then they control other things. What else can you do? What else can you look at? And then you know, you start looking at the buy-sell and the key man and the individual doctors. We have a group in Tallahassee. There's 11 OBGYNs, and 10 out of the 11 are having me review all their life policies. And, you know, all different ages, all different policies, but the opportunity is wild. So.
Well, we're gonna wrap this up, and we're gonna hand it over to Mr. Tim Ash. Thank you very much.